Okay guys, we are rounding the bend on 2025, and I always run my best of the year lists from December of the previous year through November of the current year, because to me that just like takes the pressure off in terms of I know what books I have to put on different end of the year lists. And I must confess to you guys that I used to do every genre I read top 10s. The last year or two, I forget. I've not been doing that as much because I've not been reading as much. It was one thing when I was reading like 300 books a year. It's like, yeah, a top 10 is not going to cut it. But, you know, when I cut that down to, 150 books a year, a top 10 felt like a more reasonable sample size. But I did last year, and I still want to do a top mystery thriller list just because I feel like that's what a lot of people come to me for. And I don't know, I feel like I always have a pretty good list. But this year has been kind of ass for reading mystery thriller. I think I've not read as many, and also like a lot of the ones I've read have just been fine. Like they've been good, but not like exciting, except for a lot of the speculative mystery thriller stuff I've read. So right now my list is extremely dominated by books that I think most people would consider to be either fantasy or sci-fi. So I feel like before we get to the end of November, I have got to find a little bit more spice in my mystery list. And I luckily have a very large backlog of mysteries that I keep meaning to read that I haven't read yet. So this is going to be my first reading until I find a 5-star type video. This is something that a lot of booktubers do, and I've always been hesitant to do that because I consider a 5-star to be an all-time favorite. So while the title of this I'm sure is going to say I can't stop reading until I find a 5-star, I'm really meaning a 5 or a 4.5, which to me is a favorite of the year and the equivalent of what most people use their 5 stars for. So until I find a favorite of the year, I can't stop reading these mysteries. So I'll at least read these 5, but I may have to go outside of that. So we'll find out together if I have to keep looking. But the ones that I pulled that sound good to me, that seem like they could be favorites of the year, I've got One of Us Knows by Alyssa Cole. Now, I really enjoyed the first book I read from her as her first thriller type book rather than a romance. I really enjoyed that. This one I know got more mixed reviews, but I'm putting her in this TBR because I know I like her writing, so yeah. Then The Labyrinth House Murders by Yukido Ayatsuji. I have an all-time favorite book from this author. It's the only other book I've read from them. And this is another kind of like locked room mystery, isolation type mystery. It's a classic in Japan. So I feel like this is a promising potential pick. Then I have Death at the Sign of the Rook by Kate Atkinson. This is a detective procedural type book, but it's an isolation trope, an isolated close circle mystery-ish type thing, or like a country house mystery type thing. I can't remember if it's actually... Yeah, the players are ready. By the night's end, a murderer will be revealed. So I think this is the type of book I love. I know I like her writing, so I think this has potential. A couple of other isolation ones. I can see I definitely am pulling towards that. I've got Helle and Death by Oscar Jensen. Torben Helle cordially invites you to a murder. So this seems like it's kind of Clue-esque. There's a snowstorm, a country house, old friends being reunited, and there's going to be a murder. That sounds like a book for me. That said, I got this, I think I pre-ordered this, or I got this right when it first came out, and I didn't really see a lot of buzz for it. So I'm not sure, like the premise is promising to be a favorite of the year, but we'll see how the execution goes. And then the Hitchcock Hitchcock Hotel by Stephanie Roybal. I read a YA from her that I enjoyed, like a YA thriller. I know I'm down with her writing, at least in YA. This is an adult book, but it is a Hitchcock fanatic with an agenda invites old friends for a weekend stay at his secluded themed hotel in this fiendishly clever, suspenseful new novel from the international best-selling author of Darling Rose Gold. So again, another premise. I just realized how many isolation tropes I pulled. Is this one an isolation? Let's see. A caretaker of a historic estate who finds herself trapped on an island with a murderer and the ghost of her past. Okay, so all of these, I guess, accidentally, not surprising given my tastes, are some version of an isolation trope. So this is a very promising little stack of books, and I'm hoping that I don't have to go beyond this to find a new favorite for the year or an all-time favorite. But if I don't hit at least a 4.5 in these, we're probably gonna have to keep looking on my shelves. And I have plenty of other mysteries on my shelves that I can try, but I think this represents my best guess of things that I think could be that highly rated. A lot of the other ones I'm not as confident about, so I'm hoping that we got it in this list. And if not, it will be an interesting, we'll be branching out into uncharted territory. So let's get going. Guys, this is not a good start to this vlog. Oh no. Okay, so I just finished up One of Us Knows by Alyssa Cole. This was a very quick read for me, so that's good. And I honestly, if it hadn't been Alyssa Cole and if it hadn't been an isolation trope, I probably would have just DNF'd this. But this is far and away my least favorite Alyssa Cole. I'm so sorry to report this. I think this is like maybe the only time I've given her less than like a 4. This was not for me. I mentioned it in the description, or no, maybe I didn't actually, because I think I just read the log line. But the main character in this has dissociative identity disorder, and that is one of my least favorite tropes in mystery thriller. I just think it's really difficult to do it well and respectfully, or I guess maybe like, I think it is hard to do it well for the plot and respectfully to that as a psychological disorder. I do think that Alyssa Cole endeavors to be as respectful as possible. If you don't know, the idea is like, it used to be called multiple personality disorder. Like you have multiple personalities who are called alters, who are existing in the same mental space within one body, but they experience themselves as different people. And I think it's just hard for me to get on board with that out the gate. And I just found it really distracting, to be totally honest with you. Like, yes, it is an isolation trope. Yes, there's this murder of the host personality's ex, but I found this just very distracting and kind of weirdly slow paced. I don't know, man. I feel really sad because I honestly, because I feel like Alyssa Cole has gotten this a few times, like there'll be, less positive reviews and then like basically their critique is this is a person who like respects people's pronouns, which she does in this book. Coded criticism based on her being a Black woman. Like some of the reviews I've seen for books that I have loved, I'm like, yeah, okay, those are not criticisms that I take with much seriousness. But this one just wasn't for me. And I'm pretty bummed about that. I mean, I'll say that if that is something that's not distracting to you, I think this is one of the better done versions of that trope. Yeah, I would say that. That's a fair and true thing that I can say. If that is not a trope that you find distracting, I think that this is a pretty good version of it. And the writing was solid. I guess the sentence to sentence writing is good. It has like interstitials of the like different like journal entries that the alters keep for each other, which I thought was interesting. Oh, also, I was going to say, as soon as I hit end record, I remembered. It also is about, like, includes stuff with COVID, which I think is an interesting, like, I'm enjoying seeing that in books. I know some people aren't, but I think it's an interesting angle. So it does have, like, some COVID plotline stuff. So I liked that too. And I gave this 2.5 stars, by the way. I don't think I ever actually said that, but I gave it 2.5 stars. So yeah, like, I could see somebody else liking this book more than I did, but this just was not for me. Okay. Not an inauspicious start. Now I'm a little bit worried, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like this is not a good omen to start, like, this does not feel like the right energy to start this vlog with, but I guess we just gotta work with what we got. So some unexpected progress / like attempts. I was home for the weekend for Thanksgiving. We did Thanksgiving early, and I didn't bring a book with me, but I found A Line to Kill by Anthony Horowitz in my car. I don't know how it ended up there, but it was there for some reason. And I thought, oh, okay, this is another mystery. This is an author whose mysteries I've liked a lot, like loved in the past. I've given at least 2 of his books, 4.5, one a 4.5 and one a 5. So definitely a strong contender. But I knew going into this that this might not be a great idea for an all-time fave or a fave of the year, because I read the first book in this Hawthorne and Horowitz series and did not enjoy it. So it was a little bit of a risk, but it was either that or not read a mystery at all. So I read it, and it's a 3. Like, it's okay. I just don't like this Hawthorne and Horowitz series, and I should, because it's metatextual, because Anthony Horowitz himself is a character in the book, but I don't know what real Anthony Horowitz is like, but he is I don't like him as a character, and I also don't like Hawthorne as a character. So, like, I didn't in the first book, and I also didn't in this one. And this one was set on an island called Alderney. Yeah, Alderney, and it's a book festival. Like, so they're all on an island. Somebody dies. There's a conspiracy. They're trying to figure out who did it. So, like, it's a setup for me, and I just thought the mystery was very fine, and I don't like the characters. So I'll give it 3 stars. But that was not really very successful. And then because I think I've given both of the books in that series I've read 3 stars, I think I'm just gonna unhaul The Sentence's Death, because I'm clearly just not enjoying this series. So I guess 2 for the price of 1 in terms of getting stuff off my TBR. So not that successful, but more successful is the next book I've started, which is the Hitchcock Hotel by Stephanie Roybal. Now, I misremembered who this author is. And if I'd realized who the author was, I would have been more gun shy about picking this up, because I was only so on the first book I read from her. I think it was called This Might Hurt. It's the one with the green cover and the broken china on the front of it. I thought that this was the lady who wrote the one with the pink cover that's like a YA horror slasher thriller. Maybe like There's Someone in the House. I thought that was this author, and it's not. However, the good news is I am liking this significantly more than I liked the last book from this author. The premise is our main character is Alfred, and he is a huge Hitchcock aficionado. He's named after Alfred Hitchcock. Hashtag mommy issues, yikes. And he has lured 5 of his college friends to his Hitchcock-themed hotel for a weekend to torture them. And it was taking way too long in the beginning, I think, but I'm about halfway through, and like we're kind of getting into it, and so I'm enjoying it a lot more. So I'll be surprised if this makes it to a 4.5, but this is at least a 3.5. It might, I think probably will be a 4 as of right now, and maybe if it has like some really great twists, it could get up to a 4.5. So let's see what happens. Alrighty, I'm just about to get my day going. I did finish up the Hitchcock Hotel. Can you tell I've not spoken yet much today? And I enjoyed this. I do think it had pacing issues that keep it from being great, but the premise of the Hitchcock Hotel is just fun. And I thought that it had, some interesting backgrounds and, petty grievances between the different friends, and I actually really liked the ending. But I do think the way the ending happened was kind of clunky. So I'm between 3.5 and 4, which is like B+, A-. Probably this is a B+. This is probably 3.5. But I think that this was really fun and entertaining, if a little bit slow. So if you're into the premise of this, I think this was good and enjoyable, but alas, not a favorite of the year. I am now in Helle and Death, and I didn't realize, but these are both about college friends spending a weekend together and being stuck together. So, apparently that is a trope, and apparently it's one that I am drawn to, unknowingly. So our main character is Torben Helle. I think he makes a joke that it shouldn't be pronounced Hell. That's 2 syllables, so I'm assuming that means it's Helle. And he's a art history PhD student / professor. Can't remember if he's actually a professor yet. And he's got a group of college friends from his time at either Cambridge or Oxford, and they were all were all living together. They call themselves Stairwell 2, and they have a bunch of different careers that they're off into. One of them is a tech millionaire who has bought this estate, and he has invited them all to come spend a weekend together. And I think they're snowed in, or going to be snowed in. And the vibes are very awkward between some of them already. But I am enjoying the writing in this one a lot better, and the pacing is already, I think, better. So it doesn't feel like a favorite of the year, but it could develop in that, depending on how things progress. Because I think that the writing and pacing is already, notably better. This was still entertaining, but this is both entertaining and I think a little bit better quality. Also, I was like, I recognize this guy's name. Where do I know him from? And I realized I had just watched a podcast with him on it from the History Hit channel of him talking about how awful Victorian workhouses were, because he is a historian of, I think, working people. So that was cool. I think that's a cool connection. So, yeah. Anyway, hopeful for this one. We'll see what happens. I just finished Helle and Death, and I'm about to go to bed, but I thought I would just tell you that this wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be. I would say if the Hitchcock Hotel is a book that is improved by its unique or interesting elements, this is a well-written book that is put at a disservice by some of its kind of saggy middle and overthinking on the ending. I like the idea of the ending, but I think it just ended up being too convoluted, I think, a little bit. So I'm going to say this is another 3.5. It was still enjoyable, but not as good as I had hoped it could be. And I do think I should take a little break to give myself a palate cleanse. I think I just got a romance from the library, so maybe I'll read that and then we'll try again. Let's take a palate cleanse and then we'll press onwards. Okay, party people. I have read a contemporary romance that was only okay, but it was the palate cleanse I needed. and I've got a game plan together. Maybe I should just tilt this up so I don't have to lean this entire time. Okay, so I have been getting worried if you couldn't tell. So I did my palette cleanse and I started Death at the Sign of the Brook. Now, full disclosure, these were the two books that I was like, these feel like the best candidates to be a favorite. So that's part of why I've been saving them for last. But I've been getting nervous. And I was even more nervous once I got this far into this book because I don't think it's going to be a favorite of the year. I'm enjoying it, and I think we'll see where it's going to go. So it's I'll just tell you a little bit about it before I tell you the game plan. It has a recurring detective who I have not read before, but that's fine. You know, I'm just reading it as a mystery. I can't say that I really like this detective that much, so I don't know if I would be that interested in reading other books with him, but the opening chapter is it's sort of like a cut to the future and then cut back to the past, which I'm always a little bit of a hard sell on, but it's basically meant to promise you that something interesting is going to happen, which doesn't, to me, feel like a very promising sign that the first part of the book will be interesting. And that's kind of true. His name is Jackson Brody? Yeah, Brody. He is called out to, he was in the police, he's now a private detective. He was called out for a stolen painting investigation, and he's just getting weird vibes off of the twins who inherited this house from which the painting went missing. So that I'm very intrigued by. Then it starts cutting over to the people who own this house that has been partially converted to a hotel that does like murder mystery things. And I just wasn't that interested in the characters kind of surrounding the house, but I am very interested in this art theft thing. And I'm assuming that based on the opening chapter, it's all gonna like come back together. So I do think that this could be a good book, but I'm doubtful at this point it could be a favorite of the year. So I was in panic mode. I'm like, oh God, I only have one left that possibly could. So I was like, do I need to start reading? I'm like, maybe I should start reading the first chapters or the first couple of chapters of some other mysteries that could work. But I was like, okay, let me at least start this one, The Labyrinth House Murders by Yukito Ayatsuji, because usually when it's going to be a favorite, I can kind of tell in the first few chapters, because like it has that je ne sais quoi quality that I'm like really hooked in immediately, or at least like pretty quickly. I'm so relieved to tell you that I do have that tingle feeling about this. So for now, the plan is I'm gonna I wanna just keep reading this, but I'm gonna make myself finish this, then I'll pivot over to this, which I have high hopes for. But if for some reason this goes totally off the rail, and I also don't think it's a 4.5 or a 5, then what I'm gonna do is I have identified a stack of books over here on the shelf that I'm gonna read the first couple of chapters of a bunch of them to see if any of them have that like, ooh, this is intriguing me feeling, so that I can at least hopefully identify some other contenders. Here's hoping that's not where things go, but I do at least feel better that I have a plan of how we'll proceed if this one lets me down. But right now, this is what I'm pinning my hopes on to be able to actually finish this vlog in the timeline that I had in mind, because if not, it's just gonna have to like, it's just so busy this time of year posting things with end of the year content. Anyway, that's a macro issue, and honestly, not mad if I need to keep reading more mysteries, but here's what I'm hoping is gonna pan out. Hey, hi, hello. Okay, so if you can't tell, I have been putting up my Christmas tree because American Thanksgiving has now passed, and so I'm allowed to put it up. So I'm a disgusting sweaty mess, but since I am filming the beginning of a different vlog and I have the camera, I thought I would just check in with you guys real quick. So I did finish Death at the Sign of the Rook. I'm very glad I forced myself to finish this before getting to the next one, because I think I would have probably just DNF'd it if I hadn't finished it right there and then. because I didn't end up really loving this. Like, if you can't tell, I'm not sure how much of this I'm gonna leave in, but this video has really surprised me. I thought the journey was going to be, I had a bunch of 4-star books and I was possibly like struggling with if they were really a 4-star or could they be a 4.5. Like, I thought this was a preloaded, like I thought I'd stack the deck just basically to make sure this video didn't go on and on and on. And that is just like not how it has worked out. So yeah, I hopefully have edited this down so that it's not totally tedious to hear me keep being so surprised. But I am genuinely, continually so surprised about this because I'm gonna give this 3 stars. This is my second least favorite thing I've read in this vlog. I think that if this had been a short story just about the art theft, I probably would have given that short story like 4 stars. I enjoyed that piece of it. But so much of it is just character studies of people I did not give a single crap about. And the promised murder mystery weekend doesn't take place until like 80% of the way through the book. Maybe not, maybe more like 70%. But like it takes, the thing that was the hook for this for me is like towards the end. So like, what are we doing? I don't know. I'm really disappointed in this one. So you may see this on my most disappointing reads of the year list, but anyway, I do think I'm gonna do another palette cleanse. Oh, I've got the book I'm gonna read is up there, so I'm not gonna show it to you, but it's a little short Alona Andrews book, so I think that will put me in a better state of mind to re-engage. And I am extremely excited about this because I was so sad I had to stop reading this to finish this. And the premise here, and I didn't realize this, is it's a book within a book, which I love. And it's good old Koyashi-san, or I guess maybe it's Shimada-san. His last name is Shimada, or his like family name is Shimada, so I guess that would be Shimada-san. He's the detective in the Decagon house murders, and I guess I just hadn't processed that these were all different houses, which is very silly of me. But the second book is the Mill House Murders, and this is actually technically the third book, but I don't think you have to read these in order, and this description sounded more exciting to me. But there's also a 4th one, I think, coming out in translation next year, so I'm excited about that. Anyway, book within a book, a bunch of authors invited to this freaking cool house that has a gigantic maze in the middle of it, and someone's gonna get got. And I'm really excited. I liked the intro before the book within the book, and the setup is already really juicy. I read the first chapter of the book within the book. Yeah, so we've got an author who is dying, and I think this is gonna be his last hurrah, is killing one of these people he's invited, which, you know what, why not? Let's just get into it, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. Don't murder people. Hopefully I don't have to say that. Anyway, I'm really excited for this one. And I think unless something just egregious happens, I feel like I'm jinxing myself, but unless something just egregious happens, I can't see a world where this isn't at least a 4-star, which will make me feel better just about life if we can get to that. So, yeah, wish me luck. I hope when we talk next, it will be because this is a 4.5 or a 5-star and the vlog is ending, but minimally, I'm hopeful that this will be a good book, and then we'll figure out where we're gonna go from here. If it wasn't copyright infringement, you would be hearing the Rocky theme song right now, because folks, we did it. I definitely doubted myself, but I did pick not only a 4.5 star, but a true 5-star pick in this vlog. And thank God. Thank God. Because I thought that I just had no idea what I was gonna like. No, okay, so I did sleep on this. I finished this last night and I was like, this is an all-time favorite. This is an all-time favorite. And then I was like, Mara, chill and reflect and make sure you're not just like flush with the joy of actually picking a book that you liked, nay loved. And I did sleep on it, and I do still think it's a 5-star, because I would say that the Decagon House Murders, I originally gave that 4 stars, and then as I thought about it more, I was like, no, it's a 4.5 because I'm really enjoying it. And then this, I would say technically, I think is a better book than the Decagon House Murders. And I'm not sure, like, I don't know. I now think of the Decagon House Murders as an all-time favorite. Like, I would call that a 5-star book for me. And I would also call this a 5-star book for me for different reasons. I think technically the Decagon House Murders suffers somewhat in its pacing because it's cutting back and forth between the isolation mystery and the people on the outside, which to me does undercut some of the tension of that trope. This does not do that. This stays completely in the isolation trope. It is an old, I think I told you the setup of this already, so I won't get into that. But yeah, I will say there's one clue or reveal in this that I thought, and then thought, there's no way somebody's gonna do that. Like, that's a little crass. And then that was what it was, and I don't know. I think it could hit, I think the fact that this was written in 1988, I'm gonna kind of give it a pass. And also, I can't get into the details of it without spoiling things for you, but I also am like, I don't know that somebody would do this today, but actually, like, maybe people should use this kind of clue more. Because, anyway, I can't even get into specifics because it would be a spoiler. I'm trying to, like, find a way to say what I want to say, and it would, no matter what, kind of give a spoiler. But this is so good. The main book within a book is a perfect isolation trope. It is exactly how it should be. There is death early on. There is escalating tension. There's weird ritualistic killing, which is always something I enjoy in sort of a serial killer type book, which these intrinsically are. I would say the characterization is not super deep, but I do think that there's enough that, like, I had connection to the characters. I definitely had, like, people I liked and didn't like. So, I don't know. There's a little bit of, I found in both of these books, there's a little bit of authorial distance from the characters. Like, you're not deep in them in terms of, like, really getting a lot of their interiority, but I do think our point of view character, we got more of that this time than in the Decagon House Murders, and I appreciated that. Yeah, this is what an isolation trope should be. And then the framing device has an additional twist, which I kind of figured it would, and what I loved is that I guessed parts of the solution for both the book within the book and the overall framing device, but I didn't guess all of it. But I observed the things that then ended up being reveals. I just didn't interpret them correctly, or I didn't, like, I went a different way, or I thought it, or I clocked it but didn't, like, process it as a clue, which is so satisfying. I love it when that's what happens in a book, because it makes you feel like you're paying attention, but just like the author, like, got one over on you. I love feeling like the author got one over on me, and it's not in the, this book is making me think about what twists mean to me and what I like in a twist. So often in thrillers, I feel like authors are chasing the Gone Girl twist high. There was this expectation, I would say, for the last, like, 15-ish years. Mysteries and thrillers have this sort of big dun 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 moment to them where, like, I don't know, like, everybody wanted to be M. Night Shyamalan, basically. That's not what I like in a mystery thriller. I like this, where, like, you've given me all the information, but you have a clever way that you're then reconfiguring that information to delight and surprise me. And that's what this has. Guys, the more I'm talking about this, the more I'm like, yes, this is a 5-star book. You were right. This is one of my all-time favorite mysteries. It's so good. And I'm so delighted this is where we ended up. And now I've given both of the books by Yukito Ayatsuji 5 stars. So I definitely got to get to the Millhouse Murder soon, and I'm very excited for the next one that's coming out in translation next year. That's in this, oh, there was a bunny. Oh, what a beautiful little bunny hauling ass across my neighbor's driveway. Had a little white tail and everything. Oh, okay. This makes me very excited for I think it's called the Clockhouse Murders that comes out next year. So yeah, what a good note to end this on in the vlog canon, and it ended literally the last day it could for my planned schedule to work. Ugh, serendipity. So I will say, though, one of my takeaways from this is that I truly thought I'd stacked the deck. I thought I was going to be having to like justify why the vlog was still continuing. Au contraire. So this makes me think, let me know if you guys like this idea. This time I will specifically not put it in my mind on a schedule. I have a stack of mysteries back here-ish. I don't know if you can see that. Mysteries that I don't have an intention for a vlog on. So I should say, one of the things this is making me realize is like, oh, I gotta bump up my next Japanese mystery vlog because I want to read the Millhouse Murders. So I have like a whole stack of those that I'm gonna read in a vlog. And I have a lot of mysteries that I have earmarked for other vlogs. Like I have enough isolated closed circle mysteries, even aside from like this and some of the other ones that are in different vlogs, to do like 2 or 3 isolation mystery vlogs, which I definitely will be doing over the next year or two. So I have mysteries that I think I could end up giving 5 stars in different vlogs, but that pile are mysteries where I don't have, like, the stuff that's kind of from like the bottom 2 shelves, I don't have specific vlog plans for necessarily. Like I have them grouped in a way that they could be in a vlog, read-down vlog, but they're not necessarily like 100% this is what I'm going to use these books for. So one idea I had was taking all of those mysteries that I have left that I have not assigned to a specific vlog and reading those until I get a 5 star, or 4.5 for a 5 star. And if there are none, then the vlog could end up going on just like indefinitely until I get a random mystery that I read and get 4.5 or 5 stars, maybe not for my TBR. It could be like from the library or an ARC or something like that. So that one I think might be a fun idea when I'm not on a time crunch. So let me know what you guys think about that, or if that's just like, you're overthinking this. This one, reading until you get a 5 star, was plenty from you. You clearly are very stressed by that concept. Let me know what your thoughts are, but that's an idea that I have, because I kind of, while I was stressed, it was delicious stress. Like I enjoyed freaking out. So yeah, that's an idea. Anyway, I now need to edit this and get it up. So yay. I hope you guys are doing well. We are at the end of the year, baby, so you got a lot of Books Like Woe content coming your way, because we got to do all of the end of the year content, which I love. So hit the bell, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Take care of yourself, friends, family, neighbors, and we will just talk again soon. Bye!